Good morning. Good morning, everyone. It's so nice to see you. I'm sorry we had a little trouble dialing into the phone line this morning, but here we are. We're all ready for you. And we have an exciting class today on anchors and spiritual interferences. And I've just started, actually, I was just going through again, and I'm adding even more things to the spiritual interference chart. So do sign in and say hi. Let us know who you are and where you're dialing in from. We're going to have a beautiful day today and lots of good information to share with you and get you even clearer. Yay! And we'll start with the Love Wisdom Creed. I don't have the PowerPoint up, but let me just pull up any PowerPoint because they all have it on there. And we'll start with that Love Wisdom affirmation. I got up at 6 and I've been working on the chart for you the whole time, so which is good. We needed that upgrade. So here we go. Here's a good one to share. We'll just screen share on this. So there'll be no slides today. It's all chart today. All right, and so we'll start with the Love Wisdom affirmation. I am free to live a life of spiritual freedom and full self-expression, liberated in love, gratitude, and mastery in this body here and now. My spirit is limitless. I am responsible for any limits I experience in this body and have complete access to the divine through prayer and contemplation to release myself from any human bonds I have worn as spiritual clothing that no longer resonate with my essence. And just breathe that in and acknowledge that as your truth, that I am free to let go, to be aware, to be clear, to understand and know and be the master of my universe. I'm able to let go. I'm limitless. And then our opening blessing, removing obstacles. Vakratunda Mahakaya Koti Surya Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurme Devo Sarva Kayeshu Sarvada Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo, Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat, Parat Brahma, Tasmai Shri, Gurave Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Dum Durgaye Namaha. Om Aim Saraswati Swaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. And we'll go over some hand movements that are quantum pumps. So I think we've done this already plenty of times, but if you're newer to our system, this is really helpful. So that's our next step in the process. And then from there, we're going to go to charts. And we're going to spend the day really looking at charts. Adelia's bright and bushy-tailed and helping us. She's been singing. And she wanted to show you guys. She turned 6 weeks this Sunday, and she's got, for the first time, she's wearing shoes today. So she's got her little dragonfly, butterfly shoes on, and she dressed up for you. She was ready for the class. All right, so the quantum pump is the elbow at the side and the hand moving forward. So you can pump just like that. You can pump the hand moving forward. Yeah, that's right, you can do it too. I'm going to do the quantum pump. The double pump is, I do it alternatingly, but you can do it at the same time too. So that's the standard quantum pump and then the double pump. That's right, honey. That's the standard. Yeah. Oh, and the double pump. There she goes. Okay, similar to that, and we are going to talk about all the different hand movements with spiritual interferences today, because we're looking at that. So similar to the double pump is chopping, and that's actually having fingers staying together. So double pump looks like this with loose fingers. That's right, honey. You can help. And then chopping actually is the same thing, but you're really not moving your fingers very much. A little bit. Your fingers are much firmer. That's chopping. It's kind of like a sculptor chopping away. And then another one of the hand movements we use for removing spiritual interferences is doorknob. And doorknob is like you're grabbing onto a doorknob, your palm is facing forward, and you're turning, you're twisting. So palm facing forward, and then the palm ends up facing up. Palm facing forward and up, using the right hand. That's right, you can do that. So this is the doorknob. Good girl. Good girl. You're doing it. Yeah. That's a doorknob. And then the platter, very similar. The platter is the fingers extended. And that's used for clearing and sometimes for amplifying the energy. So sometimes it speeds things up, especially with programs. So when you're looking at something like Bloodline or Lucifer Steps, those kind of things, we're using the platter. Not as much for spiritual interferences, sometimes for anchors. And I think that's, oh, I know, DNA side slide. That starts with the platter and then just across. She's going to fuss and fall asleep in a minute. She just finished her bottle. Okay, so I'm going to take us to a slide, and we're going to look at a chart. Let's see. It's okay, honey. It's all right. It's okay. Okay, so here's the anchors chart, and the reason I had this one up is I wanted to go through. Okay, it's okay. I wanted to go through permeations with you because we didn't have permeations last week. And so, and I apologize for that. It was actually in there and then, I don't know, magically disappeared. I do this, remove this cell, and then it removes the whole page sometimes. So here we go. So permeations. Permeations are essence, matter, and quantum as parts of the blueprint that are affected. And then the nature of the permeation itself, or what it allows in, is harmful, parasitical, and deceptive. If you think about a permeation, I want you to think about an entanglement of low parasitical strands interfacing with particles of individual blueprint to coexist. So wherever you're finding this permeation, it'll be an entanglement of low particle strands interfacing with particles of your blueprint or whoever you're clearing, so that whatever it is it's allowing in, it's allowing to coexist. Many spiritual interferences possess the capacity for creating the circumstance around on the earth for more than 5,000 years. If you were looking at the programming, the energetic programming, you might be looking at trauma, black magic, and control. So that would be the programs that you might need to clear in relationship to permeations. Two kinds of spiritual interferences seem to really have, although you're going to look at the spiritual interference chart in a little bit again, and you're going to see that there are a ton of spiritual interferences that can do this permeation trick. But I came up with two that I should put on the chart, the MIBs, which are number 7, and demons. And then the anchors, embedding and nanotechnology. And then the emotional anchors are resentment, unforgiveness, greed, and bitterness. So that completes our chart for anchors. I will be continuing to add to the charts. I think I can get more information about where it came from. I put on there how long it's been around on all of them, and when it was, when I could look and see, where it was kind of relatively easily tap into it, I put something in there. And then some of them were a little harder, so I'd have to kind of go into a deeper trance to find them. But I'll continue to add to this chart. We'll give you the updated chart today for the anchors clearing chart. So everything will be on that chart. So very wonderful. So that one's completed, and you'll have the most current updated information. And just let's say good morning to everybody on the call now. And Jen from South England, and Penny May, and Melissa, and Leanne from Austin, and Saval from Munich. Yay, Saval, we had such a lovely chat yesterday. Saval is one of our VIP clients too. And Melissa too, I chatted with both of you yesterday, so that was wonderful. It's so great to have Inner Circle students. Melissa's in the apprentice program, because I really get to know you. We have phone conversations. Simone, Susan from MA, Northern, that must be Massachusetts. And Tony's looking forward to another great class. Tony, it's so great to have you. You've been in a lot of our classes lately. Rosa from California. Good morning, Doug. Fantastic, from Vancouver. And Trinity, our beloved Trinity, who's always on Facebook smiling at us. We love you, from Austin. And Severina, and Margot, and Roxanne, and Marilla from Toronto. And I hear, Marilla, you might be coming to the apprentice, the diamond program, or maybe you are. Maybe that's firmed up. That's fantastic. I think I heard that you're thinking about it or coming. Jan, when I pump is imagine you sat with me, Julie, and doing it too. Speeds up. Yeah, that will speed it up if you imagine me there, because, yeah, it will speed it up a lot, Jan. You're right. You found one of those secrets. Trinity, our permeation's one of the ones that you need to get a yes 3 times in a row to be sure it's cleared. No, just once. I think that's once is good. Diana, good morning from Michigan. Yes, coming. Okay, fantastic. I got the list. I see there are 9 live students right now coming, and we've got at least one that's going to be streaming in with Skype. So hoping to have 12 to 16 by Sunday. So if you're on the fence and you're ready to jump in, I know we're in conversation with 5 people who are, am I coming, am I not coming? So just come. My encouragement is to come. When I clear anchors, do I still need to clear these in other sections? Well, what we're doing is I'm just showing you that if there's a blockage, I'm showing you how everything interacts with everything else. So when you clear anchors, you're just going to clear the anchor. But if something comes back and you say, well, I cleared the anchor and the anchor resurfaces, then you can take this chart out and you can look at muscle test, what is it that I'm missing? So I think that's the real benefit, and that's for Vanaya. Vanaya, beautiful name, Vanaya. So just know that what we're doing is we're giving you a whole heck of a lot of information so that if you're having difficulty, if something's going slow, or if it returns, you want to look a little deeper and see, well, where is it interrelated with something else, and where could the problem actually be if I can't get the anchor to stay permanently out. And then you'd want to look at the other stuff. But when we clear everything, right? So we start with programs, starting from bloodline, clan, Lucifer stops all the way down to DNA. So we start with that clearing. And then we clear spiritual interferences and anchors. And we're now, just recently, just in the last couple of months, we've added the emotional anchors, which we call anchors. So programs are also anchors in a way, aren't they? So anything that allows something to be there is really an anchor on some level. Okay. And then we're going to go back to our chart. And what I've started doing this morning, although I didn't get it entirely done, I had completed the chart itself. And so I started thinking, well, well, why don't we add in the programs too? And so I started just several of them now, maybe 5 of them have programs in. I'll add them before I send the chart on to our team so that all the programs will be added in to the chart that you get today. So after class for an hour, whenever I have the time to do it, I will add that all in. So I send them a completed chart. And I thought about what I wanted to do with giving you a chart that we had the names of the spiritual interferences. So a reticulin is an alien type 5. And we're getting rid of the types. So 2017, we probably won't be referring to type so much anymore. Oops, sorry. But that's a type 5. I'll just put a 5 in there for now. And like I said, we're getting rid of the types because we had started identifying aliens probably 6-7 years ago just as aliens. And then after a while, we started calling them types. And now we're actually calling them by their name. So we're just getting more and more sophisticated as we go along. But on this chart, you'll have the type that it is. This chart actually, with the exception of the last 5, this chart was set up in order of harm factor to humanity. And the type 5 is really the type that causes mental illness. And so we categorize this and really separated the type 5s because some of you struggle with or have children, friends that struggle with mental illness. And the type 5s are the buggers who really cause and source and keep mental illness going. So we did look at this last week. We went through some of this already last week. I just wanted to point out that we've got evil spirit curses and contracts on here. Like I said, some of them, I did get a few of the programs that might be related on here. And I think we got about 5 in here. So we'll go through here again. Reptoid is a type 5, again, causing mental illness. You're going to look at the personality and what the energy is that they bring in, controlling, damaging, parasitical, dominating, and amalgamated. This was interesting that the reptoid enslaves the minds of humans. So I thought that was really amazing. And like I said, these top 3 on the list are the most harmful to humanity. But also, I'm going to say that when we're doing clearings, it's not that often that you see a reticulin. So just know that even though they're the most harmful, they aren't that frequent in the clearings. However, if you see a really tough issue and it's related to a mental illness, it might be a reticulin. So obviously you want a muscle test. Okay, I don't know if I think we might have been around transmortals if somebody remembers where we were at. Transmortals was a name I came up with 7 years ago when I found these critters in one of my clients. And in the general population, they're known as Mothmen. So that's the name. And they're a type, they fall into category type 6. So they're a type 6. And parasitical, cruel, harmful, observing, amalgamated, and dominating. Illness, nerve problems, digestive issues, and fear are what they're responsible for. They take over and dominate emotions. Now, think about this. Emotions are different than mental, right? So mental illness is control of the mind. Emotions aren't necessarily sourced from the mind, the brain. Emotions are more sourced from the center of the body, right? When you feel, you're feeling into your belly and your heart. That's where emotions tend to show up. And so we move into different parts of the body where things are affected in different parts of the body. So transmortals Also, transmortals, I've seen transmortals responsible for actually causing such serious nerve problems that people have their limbs amputated because they no longer feel their limbs and their limbs get ill. And the nerves are so bad that the actual feet or legs are amputated. So that's one thing that I've seen that actually is caused by transmortals and illness. So it could be like a diabetic illness or a neuropathy. So that's what we're looking at with a transmortal and the nerve issue. And digestive issues too. It's an interesting thing. So the first thing I noticed with transmortals is that they were realm hoppers. So they would hop from one realm to another. I was wondering how in the world could they do that? And there were two ways that they did it. They did it with wormholes and with seeds. But you can see that there's a lot of anchors here that are possible with transmortals. So it's not just the wormholes and seeds. But remember when we went through the wormholes and seeds, what that allows them to do. So they don't have to live in our realm. And as a matter of fact, they aren't really capable of living in our realm. But they can pop into our bodies with the seed or wormhole. So either one kind of giving them access and wreak havoc in our body and just as easily pop out. So to permanently remove a transmortal, you have to permanently remove the anchors involved. Now, transmortal may only have one type of anchor. It might just be its seeds or it might just be wormholes. It won't necessarily be this whole long list of 8 anchors. But just know that any of those are possible. I think 100% of the time, you're going to either see a seed or a wormhole with a transmortal, but then you might see these other things too. Transmortals are unkind. Hatred, anger, deception, malice, resentment. They're mean-spirited beings. So I felt when I was working with them, 7 years ago, I felt like, wow, these feel like demons to me. They just feel really evil, bad-spirited. So if you're working with something that feels really kind of evil or mean-spirited, that's the personality and nature of this spiritual interference. Okay, and now that I have both hands free, you just add in here real quickly. You could do that. 1 second here. Cycles is one of them to look for. Timelines. Let's see here. Timelines. Emotional, physical, energetic, feeling. Mental. Okay, so that's a mental timeline. Oopsie. Okay, sweet. Okay. Contract is another one, and agreement. So those could be also factors with the transmortals, contracts and agreements. I'm just going to put her in her front pack. I'll be right back, you guys. So contracts and agreements. Actually, I'm not going anywhere. I'm just getting her front pack to put her in. Okay. No, you should have had that on to begin with, shouldn't have I? Silly me. Silly me. It's okay. Right here. There you go. You can just stay with mommy. I'm going to do like that the best. There we go. Okay, we're all set up here. Contracts and agreements. Okay. Okay, and then with transmortals, you're going to be using the doorknob and or the quantum pump. And you can see the difference with the doorknob is going to be a whole heck of a lot faster. And the doorknob, again, is so efficient, especially in removing the wormholes. So that's the one that we're really looking for when we're looking at how the heck do we get those gnarly wormholes out of our blueprint so that they can't come back. So that's what we're looking at there. And then, oh, looks like some questions are coming in. 1 second. Here, we'll get over to the questions. Okay, we'll start with Kathleen Lou. Wondering if we are pumping now. I was on a replay from last week by accident until a few minutes ago. No, we're really, today we're looking at, this is not really a pumping class. This is a class where you're learning all the different techniques. If there's something where you test, oh, I have a transmortal issue, you can work to clear that. And each one of these that we go through, you'll be getting the directions for how to do it. But we're not doing a group clearing today. We're really just honing in on what's really happening with the spiritual interferences. Yeah. How many pages is slide PowerPoint? Okay, I don't know about slides and PowerPoints. We're working on charts today. Good morning, and that's from Kathleen Liu. And then Penny May. Okay, I'll answer the questions in just a minute. I woke her up accidentally, so she's a little fussy, and it'll be just a minute, and then she'll be back asleep. So we're just going to work on alien type 6 Zeta, which is a reptilian. And so people were asking, well, is that a reptilian or a reptoid? Or, you know, so just know that as I can identify a burrower as kind of like a snake, and hopefully we'll be getting even more and more description as we progress. There are a few websites, if you're just searching to find out origins of aliens now, as I'm giving you the names of things, you can search for the accepted name of something if you wanted to learn more about where it came from, what solar system or what universe it came from. There's one of the websites has 26 documented aliens that are known to interact with or interfere with humans. Actually, truth be told, we have at least 4 alien races that are benevolent races who are here helping on behalf of humanity. So when we're working on all of these things that we're clearing, just know that there's also benevolent guides, and they won't show up on our charts. And there might be a point where we also pay attention and put them onto another chart of just who they are and where they came from and why they help us. But what we've been so focused on in the last few years is how do we clear the problem energy that shows up so that we can be healthier, so that we can live better lives, make more money, enjoy love and relationships more. And so we're really always looking at what the problematic energy is, and eventually we'll be able to look at everything. Okay, Let me just slide down. Good. Okay, so Diana said good morning from Michigan, and Marila is coming to the, and oh, and then I answered that one. Can we do some clearing while looking at the chart to use time and energy effectively? Yes. So what I would want you to do is test as we look at a specific issue. And if you see that that's a problem for yourself, then you would clear that. And then Sival, are we doing also the DNA clearing from last week, right? To know, be aware, and have power over the unseen world. Okay. It does really seem like everybody would like to do clearings today. So yes, we can go back to the DNA clearing that Sival has put up in the chat box on the DNA clearing that we didn't get to last week. And that's a hand movement. And she actually has what it was. And so you're just doing the platter with a crossover, platter with a crossover. Yeah, when I put this class together, it wasn't meant to be a clearing class. And then I think, well, I always am adding extra clearings in, even though it's not meant to be a clearing class. It's meant to be really a deep dive on learning how everything interacts with everything else. But yes, definitely. So you can be working on that DNA clearing, or you can be working on spiritual interferences if those are problematic for you. And so yes, if you imagine me there, the thing is, I'm much more than just a person in a body, and some of you have figured that out. And so if you make a request of me as my high self, I can be in 1,000 places at once. So if you imagine me sitting with you, then I'm there helping you. So that's the secret. It's not really a secret. It's just, some of you have figured it out. Certainly I have really helped people when they've been in crisis. So people have just thought of me, and I've been there, and I don't have to be participating with my physical body. So that's the little thing there. So go ahead and do the DNA clearing. Let's see. Back to this on the screen. Penny May, I have an anchor with my sister. She has funky energy, and I have a pattern of hand. Well, be careful about what you say about anchors. Okay, so contract I could see. So usually if you have a line between you and a family member, and you're picking up on their funky energy, there are a couple issues. One of them could be that you don't feel particularly safe or secure around them, and so then you might be corded into them. You might have a cord running in that's like a control energy cord. And just wanting to know what they're doing and trying to keep yourself safe. So that could be one thing you want to check on cords. And the other is you could be extending your aura out far enough that you're picking up on their energy. My family members are not particularly fun to be around, and I've made sure that there are no cords, and that my energy, my aura, and my field are not interacting with their field. So if you're talking about somebody who has a lower energy, I want you to think about to actually be experiencing the lower energy, you have to be in their field, have a cord between you, one of those two things where you're really connected with them, or you too have funky low energy and you're matching their energy. So those are like three possibilities for picking up on, gosh, that's really unpleasant. That's from my sister, and you know it's from your sister. But and then
do you have an agreement to do that? Do you have a contract to do that? Or do you just not know that you're doing it? What I found so often is people just don't even realize that they're extending their aura into other people's spaces. And people read from their aura. It's the worst possible way to do a reading, to get what's going on with another person. But if you don't have a clear center of head, and you haven't developed the ability to read from your hand or your belly, you might be, how you could get your information is either cording somebody, putting a cord from you to them, or a cord from your head to their head, so you're hearing them, or extending your aura around them so you're picking up on everything that's going on in their field. Those are both no-nos. They're spiritually impolite, but they're also a disaster for you, because you're living in their low field, which means you're matching their stuff, you're taking on their bad karma, their, all kinds of things. So, so if either of those are the case, you want to develop yourself, get more sophisticated on how do I get my information. And initially, you could just get your information from conversation, and then, does that feel true? I mean, because when people when people talk to me and they tell me something that doesn't feel true, I immediately feel annoyed or irritated, because they actually told me something that wasn't true. Like, oh, you got to be kidding! You're telling me something that isn't true. And so, it's kind of like that. I think you can start from there. Is that true or not true? And then develop your sense awareness, whether it's center of head, so third eye, being able to read it, see it, clairvoyance, clairsentience, so that being able to be conscious of what is around, from your hand, telekinesis, from your belly, intuition, from your heart. So those are places that you can read from that don't have you invading their space. Have you as an observer here, or an observer here, or an observer here. You're observing the feeling of it. You're observing what you see, or getting the impression of it. You're observing the palpableness of it. So so those are things I would encourage you to do. And you can look at, do I have a contract? But I wouldn't call picking up on your sister's bad energy. I wouldn't label that into anchors. It just, to me, that I wouldn't put it there. And I hope that's helpful for everybody, because I think we have people in our lives that we are more intimate with, or we have more, whatever, we share more energy, and not necessarily good energy. So anchors typically are things that spiritual parasites use, or spiritual interferences use, to anchor into us. And they're mechanisms, they're stuff that are inserted into us, which we went through last week. So there was descriptions of what things look like. So if you anchored into your sister, that would mean that you had to create something, whether you created it from your mind or your essence. You had to create something to anchor into her. The one thing humans have the ability to do, in a way, anchor in, is to send out cords. And I've learned so much about cords from my daughter Adelia, in that when she was cording into her birth mom and family, she was very troubled and having nightmares. We've got all those cords out because that circumstance is very different than the heaven that we live in here. With all those cords out, the nightmares have completely stopped. So she was having access to a world of unsafe. That's all I want to say about that. But we made sure that she's protected. She doesn't have those cords running into her anymore that would allow her to have those kind of direct access to the troublesome stuff in her tummy mom's field. If you have a question on did all the slides get here, you would contact support. And you wouldn't necessarily ask me in a class. So if there's something you think is missing, the best thing to do is contact support. If you've contacted support this week, you might be having a 2-day or a 3-day delay. We had a transition, and we've had 3 people leave the support team in the last month. And we have some new people, which some of you have met on the phone. We've got 3 new people on the phone. We've got some new people in different positions. But we're still going to be hiring another support person. So I apologize if there's a little bit of a delay. Rebecca is solo support and production right now, and that's not necessarily what she always wants to be doing. She wants, another person. Sandra is doing a tiny bit as she's transitioning into working with the homeless. So we love Sandra, and she just decided working virtually was lonely for her, which I completely understand. So Sandra is working very, very part-time in support right now. So I apologize if there's a slight delay, but please do use support, because that's what it's there for. And if there's some kind of technical glitch or issue, we have our tech team, so that someone in support can just say to the tech team, hey, what happened here? So that's the way that you do that. Earth dwellers. Jan, we're covering things that would be interfering in your body. And demons and risen demons are earth dwellers. So those 2 would be in your body, causing you disruption. We're not covering things that exist with us, but aren't causing harm. So, there's stuff like fairies and nature sprites and trolls and whatever, all kinds of other things. If I'm not finding them in people's bodies, we're not covering them on charts on how to clear them. If you do have a suspicion that there's something that I don't have here, and I have many, many things listed here, you can contact me. You can say, hey, what about this? Or you can let me know in the chat box. I haven't seen this on the chart, and I think it's in my body. Can you tell me if that's true and how I would clear it? And I'd be happy to. This is a culmination of 8 years of research, and I'm not saying that I know everything, but I've seen thousands of people, and this is a pretty good representation of what there is and what the problems are. Great. So Tony just made it even more clear, the DNA clearing from the chart from the first day. So if you want to read Tony's DNA clearing topic from last week's slide, DNA clean out, right to know, be aware, and have power over the unseen world. That is so interesting, Julie Renee. Are you aware that you are going to people who call for your high self? It used to be really funny, but that was like 15, 20 years ago, because I could feel my spirit going in and out, in and out, in and out. And I'm like, what in the heck's going on? And I've been a goddess before, so they worship me in other countries. And there's like shrines and things, and there's celebrations. It's like, what the heck is going on? Because I would be aware I'd be in, out, in, out, in, out. Since I course corrected on that, so that I can go to people without having to have the experience of in, out, in, out, in, out. And my own high self has developed, I've developed. So let going, I have to do a clean out every once in a while, of course, because people will record me, but I don't cord people. So I don't have so much consciousness. However, you'll come into my mind, especially if you've been thinking about me some. I used to, when my practice was smaller, we didn't have thousands of followers. I would pick up the phone and say, hey, I could feel you thinking about me. Are you going through a problem? And figure out, somebody that their dad just died or their husband left them or something. So I would pick up on those kinds of things and just call them. But with thousands of people now, it's a different story. And probably, you know, it's also my choice to remain sane. Okay. And that was, and I think I've spoken to this a little bit. I've had my soul family say I could leave. I could just translate. Wouldn't have to. My body wouldn't have to die. I could just leave now. And I stayed to really have the full human experience, to raise children, hopefully connect with my divine complement here, and have a love affair of the ages. You know, to live in a beautiful home, to travel and be fully expressed with a family, and with the joy, the love, the connection, the abundance. I lived the difficult life, and I say, okay, I graduated from the difficult life, which doesn't mean leave your body. It can mean leave your body. Okay, I've done the work I need to do to help humanity, now I can go. And my feeling was, and now I can stay and be a way shower and a light for those people who have gotten through their difficult days and are ready to move into full self-expression. And this is the age of full self-expression. Simone, is a walk in type of an earth entity? A walk-in, we have a walk-in, so let's go to the chart. We all have all of this stuff. People misuse the word entity. Entity is, there's something that people call an entity, okay? And let's go down to that right now. So the thing that people call entities are chameleon reptoids. They inhabit the weak, sick parts of the body, own the area, healing becomes slow, stuck, or impossible. From earthly plane now, but originated thousands of years ago as an alien visitor. So that's an entity. Now let's go down a little further on the chart, and you'll see that the chart has changed from last week. I gave you the old chart from last week, and I've been upgrading and changing things. So I pulled some things off that are covered already in great detail that used to be part of our conversation. So walk-in. A walk-in's nature is deceptive, observing, amalgamated, controlling, and intertwined. Becomes the owner or part owner of the body to the previously owned. If it's a full walk-in, they'll own the body and the other spirit will leave. Walk-ins avoid gestation, meaning they avoid going through birth and childhood, typically. Can be human, alien type 4, alien type 8, or angels. So this is what I've seen with walk-ins. Where they affect the whole blueprint. Do they have anchors? Yeah, they actually do have anchors, embedding, wormholes, and permeations. Emotional anchors, anger, greed, disappointment, and bitterness. And yes, there are some things, satanic curse, evil spirit curse, spiral, and agreement. We didn't talk a lot about spiral last week, and it's not something to clear, but something to be aware of, meaning your life exists on all levels at the same time. So spiral talks about the nonlinear progression of your life, as in it all exists at the same time, and it's on a spiral. How you would clear a walk-in is first you'd have to end the agreement. Walk-ins get in because you had a point in your life where you thought, I don't want to live in this body anymore. It's too sick, it's too weak, it's too depressed. Usually it's depression. Usually someone's died or you've been depressed long enough. And so you're thinking you're going to leave. Something gets permission to come into you at that point. And whether it's one of these things, human, alien, type 4 or 5, or 8 rather, and angels, something gets permission and either cohabits your body or you as a spirit completely leave. To tell you a little bit more about my personal experience with the walk-in, my older sibling, Marty, my older brother, he now is a female, Mary Grace, and has a walk-in. And he had gone through a difficult life and grew up with the same parents, mentally ill mother and alcoholic father. My father, it's really interesting now to go back and look at right permission and ability to be the child of. So I didn't have the right or permission to be the child of my mother. I did have the right and the ability to be the child of my father. But my older brother didn't have the right, permission, or ability to be born to my father. And he had permission and the ability to be born to my mother. So these are really interesting scenarios. So he had a father who was my father was constantly disappointed with my brother and angry with him and brutal with him. My father was drank. So my brother grew up despising men. He married 3 times, had children, has grandchildren, was in a terrible motorcycle accident. My brother, who's covered with tattoos, who owned 16 motorcycles, worked as a high-end mechanic, and everything about him said man, he put street sweepers together from start to finish, and he was a furrier, meaning he shoed horses and cleaned up horses. Everything he did was very much a man. He had an accident where he was killed in a motorcycle accident. They revived him, but every bone in his body was broken. So he was in a coma, and then an induced coma once he woke from the coma because everything was broken. And it was too painful. The doctors just kept him in an induced coma for a while. And he relays this story of feeling like he'd be on a gurney and he'd go outside and then he'd come back in, and he was deciding whether he was going to stay or not stay. And his spirit, his male spirit, decided not to stay, and a female spirit came in. That female spirit struggled some with the male body, but began to look more female relatively quickly after the accident. Said, no, I can't be a mechanic, and no, I can't be a furrier, and no, and that spirit kept going to wanting someone to take care of her, and wanting more of a traditional female life. And a couple of years ago, got on replacement female hormones, and has transitioned to being transgender female, and really considers herself a woman, doesn't consider herself transgender, and hasn't gone through all of the surgeries, but has gone through all the counseling and the hormones and she looks like a woman now. She really does look like a woman. And that is an agreement that my older brother had to let go of the body and give it to this female walk-in, who's now enjoying very much and happier than my brother ever was in his body. So then we have to look at, when we look at walk-ins, for me, I look at, did you have the right permission and ability? Did you have the right to belong, to be born to exist in the family? So when you look at that sense of dissociation, disorganization, you come down to, why would somebody want to give up the body? Because if they were joyful in the body, or they were happy with who they were, they wouldn't want to give up the body, right? If your mother welcomed you with love, was charmed and enchanted with you, and your father was, and you were the apple of their eye, and you couldn't do anything wrong, and you were fully supported, nourished, and nurtured, that you were heard, seen, and respected from the beginning, you would live a pretty happy life. So that kind of starts that question about walk-ins, and walk-ins are towards the end of our list. So just to look at that, and then we're looking at how everything is interrelated. And I can't help but feel that permission, right, and ability, when we really take it apart and we start really looking at the deeper levels of it, has to do with how everything gets in and how everything gets kind of messed up, permission, right, and ability. You just have to know how to ask the question. And why would somebody get so dissociated from their body that they'd let a walk-in come in and they as a spirit would take off? And with a walk-in in, you're not able to manifest another body. You're not going to be being born again. It's kind of, you'll be born again when your body dies and a proper amount of time goes on, but you abandoned your body, which means you don't get another body. And it's similar to people who commit suicide. They abandon their body. I'm not saying they won't get another body, because they will, but they need a period of time of rest where they're away from their body, and they're not struggling. Because when people don't feel the blessing of the body, but feel the struggle of the body, they shouldn't be living a human life. The human life is a blessing. I think when we start looking at right permission and ability with our parents, where that starts from who am I, and how do I see myself? How do I interact with all others? How open am I to love and being loved and cherished? That starts at the very beginning. So to think about that for walk-ins, and then to know that what other people are just kind of grouping as an entity is kind of a misuse of the word entity at this point. So we're going to just really look at, we'll call all the group of things spiritual interferences, and then we'll really call them what they are. And I love that you're asking the questions, because we're gaining language, we're gaining definition, we're gaining an understanding on a much deeper level. And that was what this class was about. And I now think about this class and think, gosh, this could be a 20-hour class, or a 1,000-page book, meaning there's so much to know and to understand. And yet, I think every time you come to class, we help you get more sophisticated and go to a deeper level. We're going to go about 5 minutes over. I know we started 3 minutes late. We had trouble getting onto the line. So if you're able to stay on another 5 minutes, I'd like to just go through a few more questions at the very least. I will be providing the entire chart. Maybe what I'll do right now is stick that chart up, so if some questions are popping up around specifics on the chart, you can be asking questions. It's a long chart, so just understand this is 10 pages of information right now. Let's see. Chords are, you can do the doorknob for chords on Margot. Appropriate class. Here's chord. Colic. Yeah, Penny May, that's not in this class. Yeah, just email me. Okay, we have a question on DNA splicing and nanotechnology. And that to me makes a lot of sense just when you think about it. DNA splicing means that something is being spliced into the DNA. And nanotechnology typically is going into the blood. It sometimes will go into the DNA. Nanotechnology is mechanical. So we can take that chart up. Okay, so let's take a look at that. And this, I encourage you to do this, to compare the information here. DNA splicing. So here's DNA splicing. Affects essence, matter, embodiment, and amplification. And then nanotechnology, matter, embodiment, and amplification. So not exactly a match. DNA splicing can affect essence. And then, let's see, advanced machine technology set over body function, symbiotic, looks like set to eventually have this alien group take over humans. So that's DNA splicing. And then we go to nanotechnology, machine frequency, set to take over body function, symbiotic, looks like this is eventually set to have alien group take over humans through humans losing full control of body. Alters DNA, works on blood, designed to take over the meridians. And here it's losing full control of body, alters DNA, works in the blood, designed to take over meridians. So they're close, aren't they? I also think the DNA splicing's only been around 800 years. Nanotechnology's only been around 130 years. So they are different. In nanotechnology, the key is deception. It's a trick. And DNA splicing, I think that's an experiment on some level. I know that the human researchers are now splicing into DNA records and documents. So you can go through one by one DNA splicing. You can compare them, evil spirit curses. You can see evil spirit curses, and then let's see what else is on there. Spiral and contracts. No spiral and contracts here. You can see there's a difference in the spiritual interferences that are included. Very different with the spiritual interferences. So that might be part of it. The author of the nanotechnology and DNA splicing are different. Who created them? Oh, you're right. It is a 2-hour class. Thank you. Oh my goodness. That's great. Oh, thank you for that. We did actually sleep last night. So the night before we didn't sleep at all. So that's perfect because we need 2 hours. So that's really perfect. I'm delighted that you've reminded me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. Okay, so let's go back onto the chart then. And so then you can be looking at comparing. I mean, that's what I'd like you to be doing, is looking at, what the differences are, so that in your mind's eye, you can kind of like, okay, that makes sense. That connects with that. That's similar to that. I think at some point it might actually also be kind of cool to look at maybe creating a flow chart or a timeline. That's another way to do it, where how long has this been around on the planet, and from what type of spiritual interference or alien, where it came from. We could maybe do that too. So it's kind of fascinating to be looking in this direction and thinking, that we're really owning this information. That's correct, Kathy. And out of the blue, stabbing pain would be a spiritual interference. Transmortal or a demon, a lot of times, a demon, a transmortal. An alien type 8 can cause that kind of sharp pain. The immediate first response I'd like for you to do is go into the "this is not me" mantra, or the "this is not me" chant. And so you want to be just acknowledging that actually isn't you. That when something has come from out of the blue, whether it's fear or pain or a strong emotion, it's not you. Yeah, pain definitely, though, is a spiritual interference. An emotion could be, this is not me, but your aura, or you're corded into someone who is having the experience of something and you're picking up on that. So that's another thing that could be happening. I'm working with a lady out of her body, released 8 attachments. Does she need to have the right permission to return for her space? I don't understand what you're saying. Are you saying that let me just test and see. She's out of her body? She has a body? Is she in a coma? Why is she out of her body? But for everybody, I think all the people in this class, I'd love for you to be just clearing, even if you never intend to, like with my mother, I don't know that I'm ever going to have much of a relationship with her, but to clear it for all time, that I would never come into a mother that I didn't have permission and the right to be born to, or a father. I would never make an arrangement where I came in without permission and right to be born to them or to belong to the family.
I would never make that agreement, which is interesting because my father's family, we picked up the mail this morning, and there was a beautiful, beautiful handmade card with a little crocheted tiny little doily and an image of Adelia and a little story about Adelia, my grandmother. And, my father's side of the family has been very welcoming to baby Adelia. My mother's side of the family has been silent, and my brothers and sisters have been silent. So, where you don't have the right or permission, it continues to kind of plague you in all aspects of your life. So by at least the clearing right and permission to be born to both parents, even if you're not going to participate with them, clears the deck so you don't do it again in another life. And potentially, years to come, there might be maybe some shifting with some of the family members, not necessarily the mom and the dad, that mother has mental illness and dad has alcoholism. So wouldn't necessarily need that to change, but would need that to change for me just so that I was more at peace in my own skin and had more of a right to belong. And, just be here.
Okay, Tony, I thought it was a tour class. Oh yeah, we established that already. Yes. That's totally a 2-hour class, you guys. I apologize. We actually really slept last night, and we got up early, and everything's good. Yesterday we had 0 sleep, so I guess that was just a little blip in my radar. I'm sorry, I have baby brain. My apologies. We have so much to cover. I'm so glad we're not ending the class at an hour. So this is my blip. Yeah, so it's definitely a 2-hour class. Okay, so we're going to go back. Now we're going to go to the, oops, that was not the one I wanted. I want to go to the spiritual interference. I've got too many things up here. Let's see, so is it this one? It's not labeled, we'll just have to make a guess here. Seems like it might be that one. Is that right? Nope, did it again. Okay, so it's the other one. And one more time. Oh, goodness. Okay, there we are. Now we're on the right. Now we're on the right track. Okay, so as we're going to look at these spiritual interferences. Let's just go back up to where we left off. So I think what we did about 5 of them, right? So we did that one and that one. And I think we covered grays, satyrs, transmortals. Yeah, it's okay, honey. Right. There we go. Okay. And so now we're on alien type 4. And the type 4 are the zetas and the archons. And that's right. And then we were on reptilian. And both the zetas and the archons are reptilian. So you can see that there. They both are. They're both a type 4. Parasitical, observing, damaging, dominating, and harmful. Here to take over, want to live on the planet, on the surface, undermining human confidence, certainty, kindness, kindled feelings of separateness and alone. So that's a zeta. And very similar, the archon, controlling, dominating, harmful, suppressive, controlling the emotions of humans, taking over people's activities. So the zeta are damaging to humanity, cause physical illness, mental illness, anxiety, psychiatric anomalies, pain, responsible for suicide.
In the blueprint, embodiment, quantum, perception, and matter. So, and those are in the order of where we're finding them in the blueprint. Permeations, portals, and seeds are the anchors. Bitterness, resentment, disappointment, and unforgiveness are the emotional anchors. The quantum doorknob, 100%. The quantum pump is also 100%. Like I said, you can clear anything with a quantum pump. It's 5 times longer if you're going to do the basic quantum pump. Their weakness is a physical weakness related to Earth. They need more light than what's provided on Earth. And got both hands free, so I'm going to just fill in if there are any, which there probably are a few, programs. So let's just go through that really quickly since we can. Bloodline is one of them. Evil spirit curse is another one. Okay, that might be it. Let's see. Oh, agreements. Okay, agreements is another one. Okay, and so those would be the programs that exist. And then let's move on to archons. And we started with the archons. Archons take away inner vision. Okay, you guys, you look at the chart for a minute. I'll be right back. I'm just going to quieter. I'll be right back. Just look at the chart for a minute. What's going on? Okay, I'm back. We're both back. I guess they warned me that 6 weeks they have a growth spurt, and she had had 11 ounces of milk, which is unbelievable for how tiny she is right before we got on. She's starving. She's eating she's taking another 6-ounce bottle. So I guess that's that growth period they told me about, that it's kind of this unfathomable that a 10-pound baby can have that much milk. Okay, that's funny. All right, so I'm back here. We're looking at archons and where they exist in the blueprint: amplification, embodiment, matter, perception, and genesis. Where the anchors are embedding, seeds, mechanisms, DNA splicing, holographic inserts, and portals. Unforgiveness, disappointment, resentment, and bitterness are the emotional anchors. And the best way to remove an Archon Type 4 and a Zeta, so the best way to remove as a reptilian, let's just put it that way, is a doorknob. So that's going to get you the best result. A platter
will take you about 30% more time, but if you went from doorknob to platter, you would have a faster result than a quantum pump, which will take you 5 times more. So those would be your choices. Okay. Okay, all set. And then an archon's weakness, spiritual life lived, all of their life is lived in one lifetime. Their life can go up to 20,000 years, not in the same body, however, much shorter than our immortality in and out of bodies. So our immortality goes on for much longer. Okay, Tony, a colleague has been unconscious in the hospital for a week. Should I clear something related to it? When testing, I get no. Okay, so unconscious meaning like a coma, I guess, because unconscious would mean that the spirit is not in the body. When somebody goes into a coma, let me come back on here. When somebody goes into a coma, what that means is they're trying to decide whether they want to continue on with their life or whether they want to progress onto the other side. And so if you're getting a no, it's that they don't want to be interrupted while they're looking at both sides. They're looking at what's for me on the other side and what's for me here. If I come back, what will I be facing? Maybe poor health or, whatever. And so they're going back and forth. So you always want to be respectful in that coma situation. But if they're, as a spirit, I guess the other thing I want to say about that is that people can get so unrelated to their body that they can't come back. So their silver cord or their connection gets severed. And eventually the body just dies if the cord is severed. So if the cord exists and it didn't get severed, then that's not going to be an issue. But I've looked at people who had. I looked at people who've had the cord severed, and they can't live. They can live 3 or 4 days without the cord. So you need to be connected as a spirit to your body. If you're not, then your life doesn't continue for very long. Good question, Tony. And then if that spirit is saying, yes, I would like your help, then you can be looking at how you can, restore the spirit to body, the relationship. Leanne, yesterday in the hair class, you cleared walk-ins and ghosts. I can't believe how much better I feel. Did I have any of those? Thank you. Yeah, you had ghosts. Uh-huh. It's interesting. She's real sensitive. Adelia is real sensitive. She doesn't like ghosts. So she may be picking up a little bit on that energy of spiritual interferences and struggling a little bit with the energy of the topic of the class today. That might be what's going on with her too. Okay. Well, alrighty, honey. That's better. You just stay with me. Okay. Good questions. Thank you so much. That was very useful. I feel much calmer about it. Oh, good. Great.
Okay, so we're going to go on to alien type 8, synthetic. And the nature is parasitical, harmful, suppressing, damaging, dominating. And their intention is to take control over the land, mean-spirited, to inhabit, to become rulers. They cause illness and physical breakdown. And we do see synthetics showing up quite a bit. They're not the most frequent, but they certainly do show up in like at least 10%, maybe 15% of clearings that we're doing. So they're definitely making an impact. The areas of the blueprint that they affect: embodiment, genesis, matter, essence, perception, and amplification. And then the anchors are mechanisms, permeations, embedding, seeds, anchors, and hatred. And then the best way to clear a synthetic is chopping, and that's the quantum chopping, the two-handed, with the fingers firm. The platter, it's about 12% more time if you were doing the platter, so it's not a lot more time. Or the quantum pump, which is 3 times longer. Their weakness is physical. Their race is sick as a race and is dying off. Thank you, Penny May. Yeah, I'm so surprised. I don't understand how she can be eating this much, but she was just gulping this bottle down, and she had 2 bottles, literally 2 bottles before we came on. I just assumed she'd be sleeping for hours in a milk coma, so to speak. Okay, so we'll go on to alien type 8. And an alien type 8 is the Ashtar. And somebody said, well, I thought the Ashtar were good. And there are good Ashtar aliens. And this one, a lot of times we'll just go BOF, or BOC rather, break off command. So these are the bad ones. These are the ones that are not nice. Their nature is dominating, parasitical, damaging, controlling, and suppressing. They dominate human feelings, experiment on, damage, and harm humans. So these are baddies, causing mental breakdown. In the blueprint, matter, perception, and embodiment. And then anchors, permeations, holographic inserts, embedding, nanotechnology, DNA splicing. Bitterness, unforgiveness, resentment, and disappointment are the emotional anchors. The quantum platter is the best one to remove the alien type 8, the Ashtar breakoff command. Quantum doorknob is the second best, and they're pretty equal in their removal, so you could interchange them. And then the quantum pump is about 5 times more. Their weakness is physical, can't live on this planet in the current body, can't breathe our air. Okay. And then an alien type 3 is called a burrower, and it's snake-like. Okay. It's amalgamated, damaging, suppressing, dominating, controlling, and parasitical. Their intention is to coexist, to leech off of humans and Earth and destroy the resources of the Earth. Stimulates illness, respiratory illness. A person may struggle with a right to be here and to belong if they have problems with this type. In the blueprint, they exist in matter and embodiment. The anchors are seeds, permeations, embedding, holographic inserts, nanotechnology, and DNA splicing. The emotional anchors are disappointment, hatred, bitterness, crushed, anger, and deception. And then their best way to clear is the platter, And the quantum pump takes about 4 times more, but it's also an excellent choice. All of these, again, as you can see here, I've included the pump just takes longer. You can clear everything with just doing the pump. A weakness is that they're physically not suited for this planet. And then we go on to an alien type 8 and MIB. And what do you, people ask, well, what is an MIB? And the description of an MIB, when I looked up this alien, this MIB, they humorously refer to it as the aliens in Men in Black. I'm thinking they're the funny little ones, critters. Suppressing, damaging, amalgamated, controlling, observing, and altering. They want to rule over, punish, and occupy humans. Now, this is the first time we've seen punish, right? Rule over we've seen before. But this one, it has a nature of punishing. What the result or what they're doing are uninvited thoughts, body ownership issues, like you can't really get ownership over your body, rule over each person through their thoughts. In the blueprint exists in perception, essence, embodiment, and amplification. And then we're looking at the anchors, holographic inserts, portals, wormholes, implants, embedding, mechanisms, DNA splicing. And then emotional anchors, bitterness, disappointment, resentment, and unforgiveness. And then how to clear the quantum platter and then the quantum pump. And with this one, I also recommend the lasso technique. And so what you'd be doing is, if it's one of those that's kind of skirting around, which this one does, it skirts around, it's hard to actually just pump at it and get rid of it. You can imagine being, having a cowboy's lasso, like a rope, one of those loops that they rope their cattle, their steers, when they are bringing them in for the roundup or whatever. And you can imagine securing the blob tied securely to the center of the earth and up to the supreme being. And then doing like the quantum platter or the quantum pump. So you tie it down to the center of the earth. You imagine tying it down to the center of the earth. You lasso it, you tie it to the center of the earth, hook it to the supreme being, and then do the pump, because it can't move around once you've lassoed it. The weakness is a spiritual weakness. They can be killed and their existence can end. So they have an existence that's not an ongoing existence. All right, and then an alien type 7, draconian, and it's parasitical, suppressing, controlling, and altering in its nature. Wants to take over human bodies, mind, command, and dictate, turn into slaves. Slowing down or stop healing, money issues, and body ownership problems are associated with the draconians. They affect essence, energy. The human spirit access portal is in the energy body, and then amplification. Their anchor is mechanisms, implants, embedding, wormholes, and permeations. And then emotional anchors, anger, unforgiveness, and bitterness. And the hand movement, quantum platter, is best, and quantum pump takes about 6 times more, but is also effective. Alien type 7 again, so draconians and boratines are similar. Observing, amalgamated, dominating, damaging, and parasitical. Investigating, using humans in experiments. Body ownership problems and system problems. The areas of the blueprint affected: embodiment, energy, amplification, essence, and perception. And the anchors: portals, nanotechnology, seeds, mechanisms, embedding, emotional anchors: hatred, anger, unforgiveness, bitterness. Best to clear them: quantum chopping. Their weakness is they're very small in numbers. Kathleen, I love it. She's Wonder Woman now that she's got her lasso technique. Yeah, every once in a while there'll be a specific spiritual interference like this one we just went through. That's just hard. It's just zipping around. And if you lasso it, tie it down, and hook it to the Supreme Being, you can annihilate it. You can get rid of it a lot faster. Okay, we're going on to alien type 1 and alien type 1 iguana. Parasitical, dominating, amalgamated, damaging, controlling, suppressing. And they're here to do harm and to occupy human bodies. They live in the human being through negative thoughts and preoccupation with survival issues. So you ever met somebody who's just always kind of, worried about surviving? Look at it, look towards the iguana. By the way, this one I can see in about 30% of the clearings. This one shows up an awful lot, the iguana. Perception, energy, embodiment, matter, and amplification are the areas of the blueprint it shows up in, but mostly in perception. Look at that, that's negative thoughts and preoccupation, so that's the looping thought thing in perception. The anchors: embedding, holographic inserts, seeds, nanotechnology, auditory scions, implants, DNA splicing. And then the emotional anchors: anger, unforgiveness, and bitterness. Best way to clear: quantum platter and then quantum pump. And then the weakness of this type of alien, the iguana, is a spiritual body. They do not have what we have in any way. They more project themselves into us. Systems problems, for example, your respiratory system or your cardiovascular system. So they mess with the system, not the individual part, so to speak. I think that when I said system problems, that's up a couple, is that two up? You would see that they were doing experiments on people. And so people would have, like, something would be turned to the reverse or something. They'd anchor in something and have it work out the opposite of what it should. Regarding emotional anchors, do interferences come in because the emotional anchors, or do they cause the emotions? Good question, Kathy. Emotions are yours. You've adopted them from your relationships or experiences or trauma. And then those particular emotions are ones that attract those kinds of spiritual interferences. So, we talked about emotions before, and I think maybe not as much in this class as we have in some of the other classes. And so when we start thinking about emotions, you want to think about how an emotion can come in. So somebody might have hurt you or offended you, and you want to get back in harmony with them. And so you adopt their emotion, or you, even though you have some other thing going on, think, well, this is the way it's going to be. I just have to accept this. And then you accept their emotion, or you accept their way of life. And then the emotion becomes part of you, part of your makeup, or part of your field. And so now you have their emotion. Or, because I think a lot of emotion shows up and it's not authentically, gosh, it doesn't really feel true to my nature. and yet I test that it's there. And so then it's, how did you made someone right so that you could get back into their field of acceptance or exist in harmony with them. You've taken on something that wasn't yours. So that's a lot of how emotion shows up. But also emotion can show up, well, like if somebody's mentally ill and they've beaten you, you might take hatred and anger in because that was what they were feeling towards you, or they had felt that when they were beaten or whatever, whenever, and so they're replaying it, and then it gets passed down. It's so interesting because with adoption, they really won't adopt to people who have been physically abused because they don't think that people can heal themselves from like that kind of abuse, and that the poor emotions and the poor self-esteem would be given to the child. So they just that's just one of the no-nos, that they don't adopt to people who've been abused, which is really fascinating. But it's good. I mean, there's probably real evidence that that's the case. So you want to look at emotions even if you don't think that they're your authentic emotions, or you want to ask yourself, is this my authentic emotion? Did I at some point in my life have this really strongly? Like maybe now you're more joy and unconditional love, but maybe before you had deception or greed or hatred or something like that. So it could be either something that you've absorbed from making somebody else right when there was some trauma and you wanted to get back in good graces, or it could be authentically yours. It could be something that even you brought with you from another life, that you didn't work it out, that you didn't gain understanding about what you were to learn, and instead you took on resentment or disappointment or being crushed or something like that. You just didn't learn the full issue. So I think welcome knowing what the emotions are and clearing them. That's my feeling. But aliens generally don't feel emotions. So there's not, and they not necessarily even have, a lot of these don't have any kind of a moral compass. They screw each other as well as whoever they're, being problematic with. So we can't humanize them and imagine that they have lots of emotions. A lot of them don't. That one of the reasons that aliens are so fascinated with our race is that we have love and we have a tenderness and emotions that they observe. They're curious about. They're like, wow, this is remarkable, and they study it, and they study, well, how does it affect our systems? And just to know that emotions do obviously affect our systems, and we can be healthier or less healthy based on how well we're managing our emotions. So, and not just managing, but clearing our emotions. Yeah. You want another burp, don't you? Okay, let's do another burp. Let's see. Okay, and so now we're going on to. Oh yeah, there can be many more than just one alien in the body, definitely. As above, so below. And Kathy, regarding emotional anchors. Okay, so I think I've answered that. Okay. But they can, it can be like the record player is just stuck on if, they're pressing on an emotion like anger. You can have your anger rise up, and that could be an alien, stimulating that anger. So that's definite. Do you ever see somebody, because I think aliens do anger really well in the human body. So whether it's, I've seen people with dementia and Alzheimer's who they as a spirit aren't there anymore, and something very angry just comes over and it's very dangerous. And that's what that is. Okay, and then we go on to chameleon reptoids, that should be an S there, which are entities, and or what we've called entities before. By the way, these come in to a type 5. So these were ones that I was working on this morning. So they're type 5. Harmful, parasitical, amalgamated, damaging, dominating, controlling. Found in a bunch or in swarms. Here to suck the life out of humans from one place, not Earth. Inhabit the weak, sick parts of the body. Own that area so healing becomes slowed, stuck, or impossible. From earthly plane now. So they were originally from another place. Thousands of years ago, they came as an alien visitor. In the blueprint, matter, amplification, embodiment, essence, and perception. And then the anchors, seeds, holographic inserts, permeations, embedding, mechanisms, and nanotechnology. And then the emotional anchors, disappointment, unforgiveness, bitterness, deception, and resentment. Best way to clear quantum platter and then quantum pump. Their weakness is ineffective as an individual. They must be in a group. So when you find this particular one, you're going to see 20 or 60 or 80 of them. So they have to do something to humans in a group. Okay, and then the next ones we're looking at are evil spirits. And there are two different names that they're known by, amphibians and Daros. And they're actually a type 3 alien. When I get a free hand, I'll put a 3 up there. Controlling, damaging, dominating. They can alter. They can be parasitical. These are human type spirits of dark ilk who wish you harm. They can be like a leprechaun and not trusted. And actually, the leprechaun race, this could be included in this. I'm not saying all of them. They affect negatively physical health, emotional health, love, and relationship issues. They affect, in the blueprint, essence, embodiment, amplification, energy, and quantum. And then the anchors are portals, implants, and nanotechnology. Good girl. That's good. Got those big ropes up. That's so good. Okay, and let's see here. Best way to clear quantum platter, chopping, and quantum pump. And I'll work on that. We don't have a weakness in this one. I'm sure there is a weakness. Okay, and then the next one we're looking at is demons. And demons are earth dwellers. They dwell beneath the surface of the earth, controlling, deceptive, damaging, harmful, and dominating. They have an evilness in their nature, undermining, can take over a person's inner compass and lead them into darkness. Demons can cause pain in the bones, pain in the nerves, dark thoughts, stimulate evil behavior, and restless leg. And they affect the blueprint in energy, in the chakras, embodiment, amplification, essence, matter, and quantum. Their anchors are implants, mechanisms, permeations, portals, and holographic inserts. The emotional anchors: deception, unforgiveness, disappointment, blaming, resentment, and sorrow. Best way to clear: platter, double pump, and chopping, doorknob. So you've got a lot of choices here, and they're all pretty close to the same. They're right up close to 100% with the same amount of time, so pretty close. And or quantum pump. Risen demon is not exactly the same as a demon, but in that, from that same region. They're intertwined. Oops, sorry. They're intertwined, deceptive, controlling, damaging, and parasitical. Bad boys lacking discipline. Pain in the bone, heartburn, irregular heartbeats, nerve pain, numbness can be the fault of migraines. Affecting perception, embodiment, energy, matter, and amplification. Their anchors are implants, wormholes, mechanisms, nanotechnology, portals, seeds, and holographic inserts. Their emotional anchors are anger, grief, crushed, disappointed, unforgiveness, deception, frustration, bitterness, hatred, and envy. Best way to clear: doorknob, chopping, and quantum pump. And doorknob is, of course, obviously the fastest way to get them out. In the last few classes, I've taught this last week, and we've been removing walk-ins and ghosts, which are the ones that can actually prevent you from getting any kind of real significant result. Even if it reads 100% clear, you can be prevented from getting a result with these activations. If you have somebody, either a walk-in or ghost, owning your body a significant amount, then your will won't be the residing or the overriding result. So you're doing a clearing, you're doing an activation, and you're not getting the result. It's because they can override you because they're living in you. So you want to really clear out all the ghosts and walk-ins. Ghosts are parasitical, damaging, intertwined, and observing. It's a person who's died and has not progressed to a heavenly realm or out of the body's realm. They hurt the body because they're obviously in a body that isn't made for them. Gray looking. So you become gray looking if you have a ghost in your body. You look in the mirror and you say, that's not me. Or it can also affect your home or property, obviously. It can cause issues with stomach and will prevent new life or conception, infertility. How does a risen demon differ from a demon? Obviously, they are risen. What does that mean? I think, first of all, I think demons themselves are earth dwellers. They dwell under the earth. And I think risen demons exist on the surface of the earth, on the surface. Their nature and the frequency is a little higher than demons themselves. So that's another thing. They are the same species. A little bit, this is kind of a weird analogy, and I don't know how to say this that it's going to sound right. But we have different blueprints on the planet. We're all the same species. We're all human, right? And we have like Asian people, and we have African people, and or Black people, and a little bit it's like that the demon and risen demon are the same species, but not the same. And then you can put the risen demon and demons together to compare, because they do actually affect different parts of the body, right? And they use some of the same and some different anchors. And looks like clearing is pretty similar. During muscle testing, my yes and no can swap. Could this be through a former attachment, or is it normal? I don't know, through a former attachment. Do you mean like a former boyfriend, or? I think, with muscle testing, which this class isn't muscle testing, but there's, body, you can't really get an accurate information on muscle testing unless you own your body. So I think that's the first thing. And it might not just be your body. So you just test in your blueprint on what's owned and what's not owned. And that's where you would start with that. I don't know, a former attachment of what? A man? A spirit? What are you saying, Jan? Penny May, I have answered that yes, unless it's just resurfaced. John Mayer, a president of ours, was gray. Haha. Okay. Okay, I think I've gotten everything up there. So, a form of attachment. I'm so sorry, Jan. I don't understand how you're asking a question. I know you really want the answer, and I really want to give it to you. I just don't understand what the question is. Form of attachment, you mean like a form of you anchoring, or attachment to what? I don't understand the question. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, and we were on to, we've still got some to go. We've got about 4 minutes left. So let's just knuckle down here. So the ghost, let's see, 70% of time uses your DNA to splice into you so as not to be noticed. And so that could be like a family member who's familiar with your DNA because they have the same DNA, right? And then they're crushed. The other emotional anchors: crushed, anger, disappointment, unforgiving, blame, deception, unforgiveness is there twice, sorry, resentment, envy, fear, and greed. Notice that ghosts can really anchor in a lot more from emotional anchors. Quantum pump, and then you can also ask help from Jesus or other divine beings in a lifting process. And if you're at one of my live events, I do show how to do that lifting process. So sometimes we move ghosts out that are family members, like a husband or something. We don't pump away. We ask a divine being to help bring them to a heavenly realm. So that could be another choice. Or you can just pray for them and ask them to move out. But ultimately, you deserve to own your body. So I would pump them out rather than leave them in. Okay, fallen angels, amalgamated. They're actually a type 7 alien, believe it or not. Amalgamated, controlling, harmful, dominating, intertwined, and observing. Affect thoughts, love relationships, rights, and abilities, and they lower your vibration. Energy, perception, and amplification are where they affect the blueprint. Mechanisms, embedding, permeations, and portals
are the anchors. Resentment, bitterness, unforgiveness, deception, and anger are the emotional anchors. Quantum platter, doorknob are the best way to remove, but also quantum pump. And didn't get a weakness in there yet. Walk-ins we've covered already, so let's go down here. I think that what we didn't look at is walk-ins affect all areas of the blueprint. Embedding, wormholes, permeations, anger, greed, disappointment, and bitterness are the emotional anchors. Satanic curse, evil spirit curse, spiral, and agreements are the things, programs that are allowing walk-ins in. Quantum chopping is the most effective in quantum pump. Can be removed if a person's spirit wants the body back by pumping, but also must clear the agreement. Okay, and then there are two alien races that are relatively new on the planet, spiders and snakes. Spiders are a type 3. They're parasitical, observing, intertwined. Oops, we got that twice. From another universe, a type of being, little intelligence, perception, essence, matter, embodiment, and energy, often found around the spine, back of neck, and back of head. They're drawn to human spirit access portal. Seeds, embedding, and wormholes are the anchors. Anger, greed, crushed, and bitter are the emotional anchors. Bloodline, timeline, energetic. Black magic and contracts are the programs. Quantum chopping and double quantum pump are the best ways to remove them. And then snakes, which are an alien type 6, deceptive, controlling, damaging, parasitical, observing, and amalgamated. They're a sneaky observer. They become co-owner of part of the blueprint that they're occupying. Parts of the blueprint, matter, embodiment, and amplification. Mechanisms, wormholes, and mechanisms are the anchors. Resentment, unforgiveness, and greed are the emotional anchors. And then evil spirit, curse, timeline, energetic, and timeline mental are the programs. The quantum pump, hang on just one second here. Let me just see, I was just finishing up with that when we started class. The doorknob is the best one. Sorry, I'll put that up there. Doorknob is the best one to clear. And then quantum platter is the second one. Okay, and then I see a couple questions came in. An alien attachment. So you're saying if an alien is anchored into you, can it cause problems with your muscle testing, getting a yes or no? Is it for Jen an alien attachment that causes her muscle testing issues? Yes, it is. So for you, it is. Kathleen Liu, I believe this is related to this class. I have experienced my father-in-law over the years attacking me somehow energetically. And for some reason, I do not understand. What is he running? Okay, well, let's take a look at that. Did you ever clear your karma with your father-in-law? That's a question I have. Where you clear courts, contracts, and agreements, and then clear any kind of evil spirit, demonic, or satanic curse. Those are those kind of things where a bloodline, clan, that kind of stuff, where you want to just go through and clean house with him. And then maybe write permission and ability to be in his family, right? Permission and ability to belong and to be in the family. So that could be, those could be other issues. I customarily call on help from guides and angels I work with. Is there anything else I need to know about how to do this with these clearings? No, we also call on help. Okay, so excellently, wonderfully, excellently wonderful. So we've gotten through our chart today, and that was the thing we were intending to do. It's a huge chart. There's a lot of energy on this chart, obviously. Poor little girl was saying, "Hey, Mom, there's a whole lot of energy here." So we're going to end with a blessing, and I'm going to add the programs before I send the chart, like I said. So I'll get all of the 10 pages of spiritual interferences. We've got about probably 20% of them that have the programs. I'll get all the programs added before we put the chart in an hour or so. So I'll get that done for you, so you'll have that too. And then now you have also the permeations information on the anchors chart. So you'll have everything to really do your clearings on a deeper level. So let's do a blessing and complete the class. And thank you so much. We apologize for being a noisemaker this morning, but that's the way it is sometimes. Om Asatoma Satkamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Murchormaham Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om peace, peace, peace. May the entire world be filled with peace. Tatastu, so be it, so be it. Say bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye. We love you. We'll see you soon. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving for those of you celebrating. Bye-bye for now.